Oh, hey, how's it going? I haven't made too many videos lately. I'm just wondering about all this copyright strike stuff. I figure if I'm not wearing any articles of clothing from a specific brand, then it should be okay, but I really don't know. I, I'm beginning to think that I have viewers who just don't like my content at all and will use any excuse they can. But I'll, lessen their pool of reasons for giving strikes against my channel by not wearing articles of clothing from specific brands. Because I still have some interesting things I would like to talk about. Unfortunately, when I go to talk about particular subjects, it's not that it deflates my argument that I'm not wearing something that's a little more colorful than just a plain black shirt, but it adds a little bit of something to it. And some people will go, "Oh, well, why don't you invest in better lighting and really turn your area where you're filming into more of a studio-like atmosphere. Maybe get a microphone or something so that the audio comes through clearer." I don't know about any of that stuff, and I don't think it's really that important. If I were to get sponsored, have a few people who knew what they were doing, and get something set up, then it doesn't matter. Unfortunately, as far as learning what the rules are and what can go on and what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do on Facebook and YouTube, it's very blurred as far as Googling it up and seeing what you can do and what you can't do. Uh, I've clearly used copyrighted material earlier in my works, and it was up for like over a year, and it wasn't an issue. I didn't make any money out of it, but I haven't made any money out of anything I've made so far anyway. Um, but it was worth saying anyway, for various reasons. Um, yeah, some people they really, really do not like my approach on uh, on my YouTube channel and what I believe in. They just they are very hypocritical. We live in a society that's very authoritarian, and the authority is, it's blurred. There are different factions that are in power today that have very different agendas on where society should go. There's a great deal of controversy, and people look at my channel and go, "Well, look at this guy. He just threw up some Nazi stuff on his Facebook page. Therefore, we're going to rope him in with this category of people because we are literally judging him by the cover of the book, and that isn't fair." I don't judge LGBT people because they have a rainbow flag. I mean, I judge them if I have ideological disagreements with them, and I am predisposed to believing that I'm going to have ideological disagreements with them. But, if there's some sort of normal playing field where we can talk, then it doesn't really matter. And, if they stay with their crowd, I'm in with my crowd, and, it doesn't make any difference. But unfortunately, not just the internet, but you notice this in your day-to-day life that there's certain types of people out there, and it may be for different reasons, but for the most part, I notice that people do it and they don't really understand that they're doing it, and it's when they're not very good at arguing. That's how it starts. Basically, they have to really, send the message what they believe in, and if you disagree with them, you can't get a word in edgewise, and usually they just shut down communication. I can see why people of authority in whatever position would do that because they just don't have the time to explain the situation and they don't want to have conversation about it with you. Um, so quite often you'll see hypocritical situations where you swear once and it's like, whoa, you just went off the deep end. But I've had communication with people online and they've sworn at me 100 times for every time I've sworn. Uh, so you can see where there's obvious hypocritical nature. And the thing is, when people behave like that, psychologically, it will affect you. If you're a young person, you'll just go, oh, he's in a position of authority. Um, Look at the strength of which they're coming from. They're confident, and other factors. And you tend to just believe what they have to say. Unfortunately for them, is that I'm 31 years of age, and you go ahead and talk like that. I'm, gonna go over here and do my thing, and probably not even listen to most of what you had to say. I understand that can be quite frustrating, but I mean, if you're not gonna have some sort of a reasonable conversation about anything, why should I respect what your opinion is? You obviously don't respect my opinion, and you're being authoritarian, just with a different agenda. Um, it is your purpose to lay down the law, and everyone's got to obey you, and there can be no contradiction. And I'm not into that. I don't believe any of that. I mean, there's some ideological beliefs that the Nazi Party had that I agree with. And of course, I'm speaking from a different context because it's, obviously a different point in history. There's a lot of reasons for it. Just because, like, because I have an Iron Cross, that doesn't mean that all of a sudden I'm as bad as Heydrich. Uh, that that logic doesn't make any sense. I mean, of course, for some people, it's a symbol of this, that, and the other, and I don't know, maybe they had some bad experiences in their family history with that sort of thing, but none of that has anything to do with me. This is an inanimate object, and I say this because it's important because just about any symbol or any brand name could be construed as even hate speech. Uh, Hockey jerseys, for example. People, some people go, well, it's a hockey jersey. It's, National Hockey League. That's not hate speech. And I agree, it isn't. But there are some people who will disagree, and there are reasons for it. And they develop a bias, a hatred for things that don't exactly apply just because it's roped in with a particular subject. Like horrible things have happened in hockey, as far as crowd fights, um, flying pucks into the stands, um, bar fights, horrible sports injuries. Um, well, people ripping each other off as far as money through gambling and this, that, and the other. Um, the National Hockey League itself, been around a long time, which is good, but also bad because, um, what was intelligent 60 years ago, we'd consider pretty stupid these days, but, uh, the things change, so you gotta take some things into consideration here. But, my point being is that even something like the Vancouver Canucks organization is hated by somebody, and somebody who's offended by that could construe that as hate speech. And, it's the same thing with like the Lady Gaga t-shirt. Um, obviously, bad things have happened to people who've gone to any concert of any kind, in particular metal, in particular pop music, and all that sort of stuff. And this is no different from Lady Gaga. It's just the truth. Uh, I'm not going to get into the specifics of what exactly could happen because I haven't even Google searched it because anything that would be available there is strictly for the mass consumption as propaganda. It's meant there to send a message. And, when people go, oh, do your research. I don't believe that's doing research. I think that's being told what to think by people who are trying to program you. Um, yeah, anyway, so even Lady Gaga t-shirt, that could be construed as hate speech by somebody. Somebody can always get offended by something. The shoes you're wearing, they're made in Asia. They're made by slave labor. The smartphone that just about everyone has, made by slave labor in Asia. So all these Confederate statues and things like that people want to remove and get rid of, um, that's all good and well, but we don't actually live in a society where slavery is as bad. We live, you know, in a relative state of slavery. I mean, especially if you're at the poverty line making minimum wage. Um, but I think part of that is you lack ambition and you're not trying. You're not doing anything. I used to live on minimum wage, and now I've built myself up to something better, and I'm just going to keep doing that. Because I don't quit. I don't believe in no-win scenarios. And these whiny crybabies who think that, oh well, slavery, man, things are so hard for me. I mean, I ain't gone nowhere to look for a better job. I've never tried to better my situation, but it's society's fault. Yeah. Anyway, there's a whole combination of what the cultural message is today. And, being outspoken neo-Nazi as I am, I've actually, it's been a stigma against me. People have judged me based on my character, which ironically to most of them is exactly what they're not for. They're for understanding people as people, not judging people, and not interfering with how they live their lives so long as they're not being detrimental to anyone else. But because I believe in white nationalism, I believe in white pride, I have been discriminated against. And people have gone, well, historically, it wasn't always that way. Therefore, nobody cares that it's happening to you. Well, excuse me, but screw you. Okay? Screw you. I'm a very reasonable guy, and I don't have, a problem with a multicultural society. You just got to know who's in charge. There's got to be no question about that. Canada, the United States, most of Europe, they're white countries. They're white countries for a reason. And I don't believe in this wheel of confusion on the whole thing where people don't understand what's going on. I mean, they take Charleston or Charlestonville, yeah, as an example, a place that most people ain't even heard of before, where there was a violent demonstration on both sides, I might add. The anti-protesters and the ones that were protesting. I refuse to believe that neither side did bad things, and I refuse to believe only one side did bad things. Um, so yeah. Anyway, there's the whole combination of things that are going on, and I know a lot of people have similar beliefs as I've got, but they ain't got the balls to say it in front of a camera, in front of the internet, and for anyone who may be concerned. I don't have a problem with that. I have zero fear of that. Um, so you have to understand things from a certain perspective in the proper context of things. Um, I want to live my life the way I want to, and I don't have a problem with other people, being into whatever it is they're into. So long as it doesn't negatively impact me, or negatively impact people who basically don't know no better. And I'm talking about the intellectually undeveloped. Uh, and you'd be surprised. Like you could run into someone who's 40 years of age who's intellectually undeveloped, just because of the social circumstances they've lived their whole lives in. I don't know. I suppose if you ran into someone up north who never owned a TV and lived in a small town, you'd be surprised how stupid they are in certain ways. I mean, of course, everyone's stupid in their own way, which is something most intellectuals do not like to admit. And some of them develop mechanisms where they do not talk about things they don't know about because they don't want the illusion of their superior intelligence to be put into question. Uh, I, on the other hand, am perfectly willing to say I don't know about that. It's not my area of expertise. I have an opinion about it, but it may not be the most well informed one about it. A lot of people can't admit that. A lot of people don't want to. Um, yeah, and this is getting back to the, when you're getting barked orders at and treated like an idiot by the way they're going to argue with you when you say things that, contradict their version of what's going on, then you got a real problem because you got people who are going to talk to you like you're stupid your whole life. I've made videos about this saying, look, there are a lot of people who are not mentally disabled, but they've grown up their whole lives being talked to like they were mentally disabled. And it it uh, it can be very, very hard to overcome. I personally have had a problem being able to speak my mind and really vocalize what I've got to say. I used to be very quiet, and I wasn't stupid, but obviously there were things I could have tried a bit better at as far as intellectual development goes. But nobody's perfect, so whatever. Um, yeah, and the thing is, every single person has to be wary of this bubble that they could be put in. Because it could be just a slow creeping thing. You could be a highly intelligent person, and slowly but surely, your intellectual function can deteriorate. I mean, obviously, the more well aware of this you are, then the less likely it'll happen to you. But you may start to notice that there's, a particular crowd around you who are controlling what the general theme is in your life, or what conversations you have with whomever. Um, and it can start just as simply as they just don't like you for a petty reason, and then it builds from there. I've also mentioned about where you can be put somewhere and you can't talk your way out of the situation. People inhibit your ability to explain yourself, and then um, you end up in a place where everyone talks to you like you're stupid. I've made the point of saying in my YouTube channel, I don't know a single person who will actually sit down, watch the video with me, and talk about it. I don't know anybody. And like there are plenty of people I've known over 10 years outside of my family that will not discuss it. My family will not discuss it. Uh, like, and I make my point clear, going like, look, I know you're an idiot, and I know you don't want to talk about this, but that's not going to change my opinion. So you go on ahead and don't talk about it. I'm going to do what I do. And all this is roped into part of the reason why I wear colorful t-shirts, as far as hockey shirts, when I make ones about the pop culture scene, I wear, Lady Gaga, Miley Cyrus, Kesha, whatever t-shirts. I mean, the chicks like stuff like that, okay? So, um, yeah, because it's kind of a way of identifying myself without me having to say it because I just don't have the opportunity to talk about it. And that is where the problem is when people start associating you with certain aspects of things, of particular subjects that do not apply because you either don't know about that particular thing with whatever subject it is, in this case, the NHL and my hockey jerseys, or anything. They rope everything in together. So this is like a double-edged sword. Like if you're put into a bubble where people just inhibit your ability to talk to anybody, um, and then you go, well, I need an outlet. I have to be able to express myself. And I mean, the easy outlet in today's society is the LGBT one. Obviously, there are people who don't like it and for good reason, but um, younger people they may not know. They may think that is going in with the cool thing. I most certainly wouldn't have thought that as a young person, but I have no idea what young people think today. I don't know. I honestly don't. This is just a whole confusing brain cramp, this whole conversation. Because I'm discussing several problems here. Uh, there's what's going on in cultural society. Um, there's the direction certain people want to go into, and how they want to influence the intellectually feeble, people who are basically sheep who are told what to do, and shepherd comes around and pushes them around, and, whatever. And what these people like to do is go, it's the government that's the shepherd, and they're pushing you around. You're the sheep. That's what they like to do. They call you the sheeple. But if you start listening to people like that, then you're still a sheep. You just listen to a different shepherd. Um, oh, I've gone all over the place in this video. Um, I'm just annoyed that I don't have a prop so that I can focus my attention on one specific subject, one topic, uh, to do with a particular scene. Whether I want to focus more on the pop culture scene and the NHL and some conspiracy theories and other things I want to talk about. But oh yeah, it's just this bubble. Um, it would really help if I could, brainstorm some ideas with some people and, get a think tank going on. But it's quite clear that that isn't happening. Um, I've been discriminated against for years and years and years, and I just had to put up with it. It has forced me to live more or less like a hermit. And I've known this for a long time that it doesn't have much to do with me. And, you know, like I made a video of Bradley Manning and how they put him somewhere. And his situation is obviously different, but certain aspects of the social psychology around him will be similar to what they're doing to him as to what they're doing to me. Which is, I have been put somewhere, and the people around me have a particular way of talking, and they always talk that way, and they're obsessive compulsive about it, and they just will not listen. Um, been that way for years. And again, like I said, I don't understand the social mechanics of it, but I think it can start as just as little something. that they don't like about you. Could be anything. Like, for example, if you say you're a neo-Nazi, they may go, oh, well, we better treat this guy like shit because he's associated with all this other stuff. You know, uh, he's the guy, he looks like the guy who dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima. Let's all be assholes to him. The fuck, man? Lunatics, man. We got lunatics running around in this place. Um, it's a real sad, real crazy situation. Um, but yeah, anyway, as far as being put in a bubble goes, it could start off with just some people not liking certain things about you, and then it building up. Then they start calling you names behind your back, and then that becomes the norm that they call you names. And what I think could be happening is that anyone new entering the social scene, um, the people who are well aware of your bubble, um, they get to them first and they say, this guy's this. In my case, they call me a neo-Nazi. For other people, it'll be for different reasons. And then you're shut out from society. And there are types of people who like to think that they're morally superior, that they're better people, and they have the right to cast judgment. Well, the problem is, they don't fucking have the right to cast judgment because a lot of them are fucking assholes themselves. And I've seen people who think that they're morally superior. I know a few guys, and I'm like, you look like a fucking pig. And I don't mean like a police officer, I just mean like a literal fucking pig. And you have the right to fucking cast judgment on me, especially when I've seen them, stupid as fuck about other things as well. But, nothing joins people together than a common hatred of a singular object or person. Uh, Tends to happen, but you can use that to your advantage if you want to promote something like a YouTube channel, like I do. Do I give a shit that I've had to live on my own for a good chunk of my adult life? No, I don't give a fuck because I would rather fucking live on my own, doing my thing, than go into a social circle with people I don't like. Um, and I do my thing, and I don't have real big issue telling what other people should do, but a lot of other people are not like that at all. They have this thing where they have to tell people what to do. Um, I've seen it time and time again. And the problem with society, especially white people, I don't know what it is, but like we're naturally predisposed to, wanting to kind of go off on our own, uh, do everything ourselves, and there's not much, group mentality on things. Of course, there is, but there isn't at the same time. Um, it's kind of, it's kind of difficult to explain, but like I'll put it to you this way: um, if something is good in a community, like anything, like something's like you can't find anywhere else, they're a good price, whatever. Um, Asian community, they'll all know because somebody will tell the entire Asian community, and they're all programmed to keep their mouth shut, and they won't tell white people. Whereas if a white person finds something good like that, they have a tendency to be selfish, to think just of themselves, and they won't tell anybody at all, even their friends. Like I said, I've known some guys over 10 years, and there were things that like would not have impacted them negatively, and we're supposed to be fucking friends, and they couldn't be bothered to tell me, or they didn't want to tell me. I was just like, what the fuck is your retarded logic on this? Um, anyway, didn't swear too much in this video, but I have sworn a little bit because I'm getting irritated here. Like being told that I can't even wear a jersey in my videos anymore, can't wear the shirts I bought with which were the specific purpose of why I bought them in the first place. Um, Total load. Anyway, from what you people can gather of this video, I hope maybe you learned something that you know, in one way or another, everyone can be an asshole. So just try not to be. Anyway, see you later.